Did you know that the phrase food for thought means something that warrants serious consideration? Let me give you some food for thought for the day. In Luke chapter 16, starting in verse 1, Jesus writes this, or Jesus said this. Now, he was saying to his disciples, that is Jesus, there was a rich man who had a manager, and this manager was reported to him as squandering his possessions. And so he called him and said to him, what is this I hear about you? Give an accounting of your management, for you can no longer be my manager. The manager said to him, what shall I do, since my master is taking the management away from me? I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm too ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do, said this manager, so that when I'm removed from the management, people will welcome me into their homes. And he summoned each one of his master's debtors and he began saying to the first, how much do you owe my master? He said 100 measures of oil, and he said to him, take your bill quickly, sit down and write out 50. He said to another, how much do you owe? And he said 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write out 80. Jesus says his master praised the unrighteous manager because he acted shrewdly. For the sons of this age are more shrewd in their relations to their own kind than the sons of light. And I say to you, Jesus says, make friends for yourselves by means of the wealth of unrighteousness, so that when it fails, they will receive you into the eternal dwellings. John MacArthur, in his commentary, wrote this about that last verse. He says that the master, unwitted, he applauded the man's cunning, his admiration for evil stewards. The evil steward's criminal genius shows that he too was a wicked man. You see, it's only a natural tendency of fallen hearts to admire a villain's craftiness. You know, all the characters in this story were immoral. They were criminals. They were villains. They were unscrupulous, unjust, and corrupt. Jesus isn't saying we should be unjust or corrupt or villains. But what he is saying is he's saying that most believers are wiser in the way that they deal with this world than some believers are in the way they deal with eternal life. See, people of this world who think this is all there is. Right? All I'm going to get in this life is what I beg, steal, and borrow. Right? If I want a new truck, I got to go get it. I got to work hard for it because trucks matter, or cars matter, houses matter, power matters, and money matters. And people of this world work tirelessly to accrue up for themselves wealth and friends and power in this life. But we as believers, you and me, we know there's something more to this life than this life. This life isn't all there is. You see, life isn't about how much I gain or get or how many toys I die with. Life really starts when we die. And if we believed, if we really understood that Jesus said, don't store up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal. He says, store up for yourself treasures in heaven where moth and rust can't destroy it and where thieves can't break in and steal. He says, I think Jesus is saying that we ought to use our unrighteous wealth, the things of this world, the money of this world, our influence and our power and our network of friends. We ought to use everything at our disposal in this world to begin to store up for ourselves treasures that are going to really count. Jewels in our crown of eternity. And so maybe we ought to be using more of our earthly wealth to reach the lost, to care for the poor, to help the hurting. Because someday we're going to stand in heaven and we're going to give an account for the way that we dealt with everything on this earth. And I really believe, I've been saying this for years, I think someday, if the world continues another 200 years, when America falls, it's no longer this powerhouse of rich people, which we are. 1%, we're in the top 1% of the wealthiest in the world. Even the poor in our country are. And I think someday the world will look back at us when we are no more, either in this life or the next. and they will rightly judge us for the way we spend our wealth. It's easy to look back at slavery and say, that is wrong. You were wrong to treat people that way. You were wrong to do that. You were wrong to buy and sell people as though they were cattle. It's easy to look back at that in hindsight and realize they're wrong. Someday, the world's going to look back at us with all of our wealth, and they're going to say the same thing. America, you were wrong to build bigger houses and better barns and faster cars and nicer things, while the world around you perished, because God gave you every means necessary to make the world a better place. Maybe it's time to give a little bit more of our money towards missions. Maybe it's time to help people that are poor, not just in our own country that we see, but around the world. To reach out to our brothers and sisters in Africa, in India, and China, who are being slaughtered by the thousands, and to begin to use some of our influence, some of our power, not just to send relief, but to be the relief. I don't know. But my name's Matthew, and that's some food for thought. God bless you guys.